The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Kiwi.
Time for a bit of TV on the radio with Hamish, Coleman-Ross. Hamish CR on the Twitter. Good morning, Hamish.
Morning, Wammo. How's things?
Very well. Enjoy that shapeshifter track?
I did. I was grooving out here on the other end of the phone. It was wicked.
It's huge. It's huge.
What more do I need at 8:15 in the morning?
Exactly. Perhaps some outrageous fortune. Everyone's talking about the new series.
Yeah, I mean, this show, I find Outrageous really interesting in so much as when you go back and watch some of the really early episodes, I'm talking season 1, they're exceptionally cringeworthy, I find. They're not shot particularly well, the acting is a little wooden, and then you look at how far the show has come now, after watching that series premiere of season 6, can you believe it?
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. I think it's a real achievement. I think it's definitely one of it's the best New Zealand drama on TV, full stop.
Is it the right thing to do to close it down now? Because I'd imagine that TV3 would want this to go on forever because it's such a success.
Well, see, I've thought about this a bit, and I think one of the interesting things about Outrageous is they've had a lot of transient characters, including, Wolf as the father. But, maybe they can't, continue to do it unless they always have, the core cast of the West family. So, yeah, I personally, I'd like to see it stick around. But if they decide to call it quits after this season, well, then, Lost did 6 seasons as well, so they're in good company.
Yeah, so did The Sopranos, of course, as well, 6 seasons.
And exactly. But no, I think the ratings for it were huge, so obviously New Zealand public agrees. Julie Christie once said to me when I was having a yarn, she said, if you want to see New Zealand television at its best, you cannot go past Outrageous Fortune. There is something about it that's really very finely in tune, I think, with what it is to sort of be Kiwi. And, it's a part of us that we don't talk about a lot, which is kind of the slightly cringeworthy, craptastic nature of Kiwi personalities at times. And I think it celebrates it in a way that's incredible.
Are you looking forward to seeing the overseas versions of Outrageous Fortune?
Well, now, I have.
You have?
I've seen the American one.
Oh, yeah, what do you think?
It's hard to say. I watched it, but you see, because it's the pilot episode, it's based pretty much 100% upon the script from the New Zealand version. So, when you're watching other actors in different accents in a different setting for a show that you've obviously come to have some kind of reverence for, trying to do it, it just doesn't quite work the same. The Office did exactly the same, the American version of The Office. That first couple of episodes were complete rips from the English version.
Yeah.
But look at that, it found its own legs, it's its own animal now. It's kind of wrong to compare the two now, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll take that approach with Outrageous Fortune in the States. All I do know is that the critics have savaged it in the States. They weren't very happy with it. This is the second time that Outrageous Fortune's been redone somewhere else. Of course, the UK gave it a crack about 3 years ago.
Yeah, it didn't work there, did it?
Didn't work there either. So, I don't know, maybe it is just one of these shows that just, it works so well in New Zealand, and I guess overseas people look at it and say, well, it's a great concept, but hey, unless you've got the right kind of actors and the right kind of people behind the scenes as well, it's just not going to work. And I think maybe that Outrageous has just been really lucky in that respect.
Well, back off to the States where Larry King has decided to call it quits.
Yeah. We sort of knew that this was on the cards because Larry does a show daily, during the week, and then they said that he was just going to go to weekends. And then all of a sudden, Larry himself turned into a bit of celebrity fodder when they started talking about him being him and what was going on with his wife, who, by the way, is much younger and much hotter than him. Wouldn't take a lot doing.
I wouldn't associate the word hot with Larry King, but
well, she obviously finds something attractive about him. It might not be anything to do with his features and more to do with the bank account, but, each to their own.
Now, he's been at it for a few years, although quite late in his career that he actually got the Larry King show, though, wasn't it?
Well, it was. He was sort of in his 50s, I think.
Yeah.
Late 50s when he really started doing it. But I think, as far as Larry's saying, it's over, it's time to move on, I'm down with it. I think it is a good decision. But what's more interesting is who's going to take over.
Who's going to fill that spot? Because what is the format? It's sometimes interview, but sometimes talk back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very sort of open-end thing. So peers from Britain has Got Talent and UKs Got Talent he's being touted as being the new Larry King. Now, I've watched some of the recent UKs Got Talent, and I was watching it with an English guy who actually told me that he said, you don't realise that guy is one of the most hated people in Britain.
Is he? Well, just based on his vitriol that he spouts on those shows.
He's done other TV stuff during the years, and apparently his things that he's said to people and about people have never been taken very well.
That's the character, isn't it?
I didn't have any idea who he was except as a judge from those shows, but apparently in the English context he's not very well liked, which makes me think maybe that's why he's looking to get a US talk show position, because nobody wants to listen to him in the UK anymore.
Exactly. Hey, let's take it back here. Faux Paws on One News, Hamish.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, last week we were talking about what is it going to mean with people editing their own work, what's it, you know, at TVNZ Newsroom, and I think we've had a couple of examples now that show us what is going to happen. And one of them was Jack Tane following up on the Andy Hayden story. And poor wee Jack, he tried to do a good job, and his story was really about how he had been trying to track down Murray McCulley on the trail of Andy Hayden.
Yeah.
And he had a little whiteboard, and he drew some things, and he had a little cutout of Murray, and he stood by the fax and showed how he'd been getting the fax machine, and sat at his desk and said how he'd been answering the phone. And there was very little of Murray McCulley, very little of Andy Hayden, and quite a lot of Jack in that story.
Sounded more like a skit than a news story.
Yeah, well, I watched it, and I thought that's a bit odd. And then when I was sitting online, I saw that a few other people had written about it and were talking about it as well. And I thought, right, so I'm not the only one who found it a bit odd. And I think, you know, what happened was that Jack had cut it himself, I believe, and, you know, it was more of a personality piece than it was actual news. And although, you know, he should have a producer who told him to hone his head in as well, obviously it didn't happen. I just wonder if that's going to be more of the style that we're going to see emerging out of one. I mean, good or bad, it's not up to me to decide, it's up to the general viewers, but, you know, I just sort of wondered if that's the kind of road that they actively want to go down. The other one was Cheers Conrad. I can't remember the name of the reporter, but he was standing there, and Conrad Smith goes to get onto the bus, and as he's getting onto the bus, he looks out and he waves to the reporter and goes, "See you, mate," and it cuts back to the reporter, and he goes, "Cheers, Conrad." He's like, "So, Conrad Smith, global footprint, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, wow, so now we're just like chummy with the All Blacks in our reports as well? Jeez. You know, there's very rarely, you know, you don't talk to a politician, you don't see Duncan Garner going, "Oh, cheers, Chris, I'll catch you on the plane on the way back, eh, bro?" Yeah. Well, because they kind of don't like each other, but, you know, that's another story.
So it's less about the story and more about how they can turn it into an entertainment personality piece.
Well, I'm just wondering if that's where they're going, because, you see, if it was just Jack, I could say, okay, well, maybe the kid just, you know, got a bit carried away or whatever, and that's fine. You know, everyone makes mistakes, and especially when you're putting things out as much as those guys are. But the fact that it's happened also with this other guy, you know, is this the new editorial style of TV1 News? These are not isolated incidents, and, you know, I'm sort of just kind of wondering on this front. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I think it's pretty shaky days around TV1. So to be honest with you, mate, I don't want to go for the jugular too much. I actually feel a bit sorry for them.
Hamish Coleman-Ross, thanks for talking TV.
No worries, bro.
Continue the conversation with Hamish on Twitter, Hamish CR.